Hey, welcome back to the Stash. Daredevil is one of the greatest characters in comic book history. Through decades of storytelling, through countless reimaginings, one thing has remained constant. His stories mean something. They dig deep, they challenge morality, they break characters down only to rebuild them into something stronger, more human, and more heroic. Time and time again, Daredevil has proven that he isn't just another superhero in a mask. He's a man who bleeds, who suffers, who gets back up no matter how brutal the world becomes. From Miller to Bendis, Brubaker to Zdarsky, the character's legacy has been a standard. A gold bar raised so high that for a long time it felt impossible to imagine a bad Daredevil run, but not every chapter gets to live up to that legacy. And sometimes potential isn't enough. When this new run started, it had every opportunity to be something special. The pieces were there, the possibilities were endless. It could have been a story of rebirth, redemption, new beginnings, everything that makes Daredevil such a powerful figure in the first place. But somewhere along the way, that spark was lost. What should have been a bold, emotional new chapter ended up feeling hollow, stretched thin, and almost disrespectful to this character's entire legacy. So today, we're not just talking about disappointment. We're talking about a Daredevil run that had all the ingredients to be something great and somehow fumbled it harder than anyone could have expected. Join us as we go over Daredevil issue 19, the finale of introductory rights. Before we get into that though, I want to take a quick second to say that here at The Stash, we're trying to reach 11.5 thousand subscribers before the end of the month. It's a huge ask, but with your help, I know we can do it. So if you like Daredevil or just comic content in general, consider sticking around and maybe hitting that subscribe button. But anyway, with all that being said, let's get right back into the video. So our story begins with Wrath, a monster born of Daredevil's rage, a monster possessing a child who was meant to be in Matt's care, offering Daredevil the ultimate sacrifice. Save Bullseye, his greatest enemy, or save Foggy Nelson, his greatest friend. But Matt, however, lunges in for an attack on the demon, demanding it to focus on him and him alone, and not those it abducted. And so Daredevil gets his wish. There's not much Hornhead can do against a demon such as Wrath. No matter how hard he tries to unleash his anger, he's always second best. Bullseye though is having none of the entire situation and tries to end Foggy's life, as if to make the sacrifice for Matt. But soon he learns that he is not the one in control. Wrath transforms, holding both Bullseye and Foggy once again, demanding Matt Murdock to choose. And then, without a warning, drops them both. Matt leaps immediately, going after Foggy, all the while handing out a crucial lifeline to Bullseye. But where Foggy is saved, his greatest enemy has suffered a fate far more deserving for one as evil as him. And so, Daredevil made the ultimate choice. He made the sacrifice, which results in Wrath being quite happy with Hornhead. He gives back the possessed child, for he no longer needs him, for Daredevil has finally proven himself worthy of hell. The following day, Matt and Foggy are seen leaving a cafe. Foggy expresses his sorrow relating to the entire sacrifice ordeal. Matt apologizes to him. He never wanted the weight to be put on his shoulders. Foggy tells him he knows, and that he also knows that if Matt had to do it over again, he'd do the exact same thing. And so, with that said, it seems that Matt and Foggy, the best friendship in Marvel Comics, the pair that share an unbreakable bond, go their separate ways. 3 days later, Matt meets with Elektra after she reached out to him. He tries to tell her about his more personal feelings, yet she quickly changes the subject to more business-oriented. The Kingpin is missing, and naturally, Matt says they'll find him, but Elektra then corrects Matt, telling him that she will, without him. Because to her, things can't go back the way they were after the way these past few months have went. So Matt apologizes for being selfish apparently, and then just like him and Foggy, the two head off in their own ways. Later on, Matt apologizes to everyone he is now leaving behind from his life as a priest. He does his best, but they all show their clear disappointment in him. Until one of the girls rushes to Matt, giving him a hug one last time. And so, our story ends with Matt Murdock, Daredevil, ready to begin his next chapter in life. Okay, so Spider-Man comics aside, never have I ever felt so scammed for my money in recent years when it comes to reading comic books than this series. Like, this man has wasted and dragged out every single plot thread that's either been handed to him or lazily crafted together through his own doing. I've said it before and I'll say it again. This guy took almost 2 years to fully tell his first story. You know how absurd that is? Especially for a plot as bare bones as this. Why couldn't this have been like 7 to 8 issues max? It would have fixed so many of the pacing problems this comic has. IMBUED did nothing of significance when it comes to this run. The biggest change was Matt being a priest, which he didn't do. Zdarsky did that, and IMBUED wasted that massive change in the most half-assed way possible. From the art to the characters to the actual story, everything felt so shallow and empty, like they were weird placeholder versions of the characters. It never felt like IMBUED had a clue who they are or why they do the things they do. Instead, it felt more like he did a quick Google search on everyone and thought to himself, yeah, I'll be fine. I honestly don't know what this run's version of Daredevil stands for. Matt's internal conflict is something that's just annoyingly spoon-fed to us through lazy narration rather than seeing it naturally unfold through his actions. And so when you're relying on that narration to spell this out after 19 issues, it just results in us to throw at any sense of critical thinking as we read. We instead just slowly absorb whatever the text boxes tell us, which is not much in the first place. And for a story that's supposed to be rooted in moral introspection, we should be able to be engaged with it on a deeper level, questioning and interpreting alongside Matt, but we can't. The clearest example of this is how Matt's faith is handled. It's boiled down to quoting Bible verses that loosely tie into the events on the page. If you have zero interest in the character of Matt Murdock, of his complexities and deep-rooted rich history, then why waste our time with one of the worst arcs in the character's history? You know what? Screw it. This to me so far is easily the worst run in the character's history. There's nothing here to save it, not one single positive I've got for this book. Every other run had at least one thing that was worthy of note. Be it Gene Colan's brilliant artwork or one decent story hidden beneath the rest, yet here I constantly felt myself wanting to throw the issues right in the bin as soon as I finished reading it. And I think the most frustrating part is that this run had such real potential. There was the chance for familiar faces to return like Blindspot, or having Fisk be out of the picture completely, letting someone else pave their own way, or Matt starting his new life as a priest. There was so many exciting ways it could have gone, but somehow, maybe because Daredevil hadn't had a bad run in years, we ended up with the literal worst timeline and option possible. IMBUED stretched a single arc, with no real sense of progression, out to over 19 entire issues, plus, if you want to be technical, an annual. Padding it with meaningless battles, forcing drama and tension, and completely, like mentioned just before, wasting all the interesting ideas the setup had. So, overall, Daredevil issue 19, the ending of introductory rights, is just so unbelievably hollow and boring. It's completely anticlimactic, and after dragging out a 19-issue arc, we still have no real resolution for what is actually happening. There's not even a meaningful reconciliation with the kid Wrath possessed. Everything was stretched out, yet somehow still handled without any sense of care. What we're left with is a book that feels less like it's delivering something with real meaning and love for the character, but rather like it's actively trying to be the worst Daredevil run in the modern era. Plot threads like Cole's injury or Matt being a priest feel weightless and abandoned. Even Matt choosing to say Foggy didn't come across as a moral flaw. It just feels like another excuse to pile misery on a Matt for no real reason, considering he basically just gets guilt-tripped by it. And in the end, it doesn't just drag Matt down, it makes him and his entire supporting cast feel tedious and like a shadow of their former greater selves. And also, really, killing Bullseye? Obviously, eventually he'll come back, but we've already done this before. That was meant to be the big moment in the series? God, why have Daredevil comics turned into brand new day Spider-Man issues? Hell, just like Peter, his most popular love interest doesn't even want to see him again. How original. This run has been a complete waste of time, and as someone who genuinely loves the character of Daredevil, who's read all these comics, collects them, and adored the Netflix show, I for one cannot wait to forget the mess that is Introductory Rights by Saladin Ahmed.